Hey guys, Mr. Larson here. Just want to walk you through how these video notes are going to work. I'm going to be moving really quickly as I go through because if you're watching on the video here, you can pause it while you're writing, you can rewind, things that you can't do in person. So I'm going to move quickly. Hopefully you'll just kind of get used to it after a while. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump in. This is section 1.1. Today we're going to talk about calculating hourly pay and overtime pay. So we'll always start with an objective for the day. It's usually pretty simple, one or two things that we're trying to accomplish. So calculating hourly pay and overtime pay. So first thing we'll talk about hourly rate. That's how much you're paid per hour, for every hour, right? If you hear somebody say, oh, I make 15 bucks an hour, that's their hourly rate at their job. So dollars you're paid for every hour that you work. Some people are lucky enough where if they get enough hours, they'll get what's called overtime. So anytime you work over 40 hours, you get paid overtime. So 40 is considered a regular work week, a full work week. Anything beyond that is considered overtime. So what are some examples? There's a bunch of jobs out there that pay overtime. A couple common examples: working at a restaurant, retail store, labor, right? Like doing physical labor. Landscaping, brick mason, things like that. And a lot of them are part-time jobs where you're paid hourly. You can also make overtime. Those kind of go hand in hand. Some places will not pay you overtime. They'll ban you from working more than 40 hours because it costs them more per hour if somebody's working beyond 40. And that's what we'll talk about with this overtime rate. So you have your hourly rate that you make for the first 40 hours. And after that, you make what we call time and a half. So you probably have heard that phrase before, time and a half. And what that means is you're going to get paid 1.5 times what you would typically get paid. So just for easy numbers, if you make 10 bucks an hour, your overtime rate would be 15 bucks an hour. So if you work 42 hours, the first 40 hours you get paid 10 bucks for every hour. And then those extra two, your incentive for staying longer at the end of the week is they'll actually pay you time and a half, would mean 15 bucks an hour for those two. So nice little incentive for you. So our regular weekly pay, regular means 40 hours or less. And we have a formula for that. First thing we're going to do is take the number of hours that we work, and we're going to multiply by our hourly rate, right? Very simple. That's how you figure out your regular pay for the week. Regular meaning less than 40 hours. So let's take a look at an example here. Julie works 3 hours each day on Tuesday through Thursday. So how many days is that? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 3 days, 3 hours each day. So I'm going to stop right there and think about, okay, how many total hours am I working? 3 hours a day times 3 days, that's going to be 9 hours. So I'm getting paid to work 9 hours. Julie makes $5.65 an hour. How much does she earn each week? So my regular pay, which is what I'm calculating here, regular pay. My apologies for the handwriting. It doesn't get any better. 9 hours times 5.65. And we're making $50.85 this week. Okay. Now, if we're getting paid overtime, let's take a look at that. So how do we do this? First, we want to find the regular weekly pay, which we know how to do. Then we want to find our overtime pay. So to find overtime pay, first we need to find the overtime hours. So take your total hours and subtract 40. So if you work 43 hours, 43 minus 40 means that you would have 3 hours of overtime. Then we want to find our overtime rate. So we take that hourly rate times 1.5 for our overtime rate, or the time and a half rate. And to find overtime pay, I want to do my overtime hours times the overtime rate. So that's really similar to the regular pay calculation, except we're dealing only with the overtime numbers. So I have this regular pay, and then I also have the overtime pay. And to find what I'm getting paid altogether, I'm just going to add those two numbers up, right? So regular pay is the first 40 hours. Overtime pay is anything for hours over 40. You get paid both of those things, so we add them together. So let's take a look at one example. So I think on your notes this accidentally says weekly for step A. It should be regular. That's what we've been calling it. So Sam gets paid $7.45 per hour as a cashier. 1 week he worked 43 hours. So regular means only the first 40 hours. So I'm going to take 40 hours times my $7.45. That's my regular pay. So $2.98. If I stopped working after 40 hours, that's what I would make. Now let's find how many overtime hours I worked. So I worked 43 total. So overtime hours would be that 43 minus 40. It's always minus 40. So I get 3 hours of overtime. What do I get paid for those 3 hours? Well, we made $7.45 an hour. So if I multiply that by 1.5, I get my overtime rate. 7.45 times 1.5. So 11 point, we'll call that 1.8 because that third number is a 5 or bigger. So 11.18. Overtime pay, 3 hours times the $11.18. I get $33.54. And then to get my total pay, I'm going to take the $2.98, add it to the $33.54, and that's going to be my total. So $2.98 plus $33.54, and that's going to give me $331.54.